Greeting to the viewers. This is Meera Srinivasan, convener for the Community of Practice for Customer Engagement, representing LASSIB Society, Mumbai chapter. Today we had our roundtable conference on the theme of managing the shifting dynamics of customer engagement in a SMAC-driven world. We have had a very distinguished panel list, which I am just going to go through. Before that, I would like to just emphasize on the SMAC for those who are probably not familiar with it. So SMAC represents the new paradigm in the digital world. It represents the social media, mobility, analytics, and cloud computing. The objective of today's conference has been around identifying the challenges for organizations to adopt a SMAC and the solution approach that needs to be adopted in order to address these challenges. So before we move ahead with each of these challenges and how these can be addressed by the organizations, I would like to quickly go through the panel members. We have Alok Shinde, he is MD, Essentious Insights. We have Mandar Kanvinde, he is founder of Brand Capita. We have Ravindra Datar, also from Brand Capita, as director. We have Abhijit Gupta, Director, Customer Future. And we have Kamlesh Manoja, who is Head of Service Delivery, Cigna TTK. I would like to request Abhijit Gupta to take over the next slide. Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to talk about understanding the customer adoption and the changing expectation. As you know, the SMAC has come into our world, and there is a lot of changes which are happening in terms of what is happening in terms of the organization, how customers are talking about it, how customers are reacting to it. So the big challenges are in the fact that the customer expectation sometimes is unknown in this SMAC world. There are concerns, there's a problem of accuracy, there is fictitious versus real information which is coming up, there are poor response times. So how are we addressing this? We are addressing this in terms of how we are segmenting SMAC as a channel is taken up by a certain demographic which is much more younger versus older people. Then the very fact that we are capturing the right data across the life cycle, across the right format and in the right channels. And we are also using historical data and trends. The second part of it is that we are moving towards how to enable them in the SMAC channel. There are mechanisms of engagement through the apps, through the social media channels. And then there is a technology, the IVRS, which is coming in. There is also easy to use and reliability which has been pushed into for the adaptation. In engagement, we are talking about not only about the fact that the organization needs to look only inside, they need to also talk to the customer. So we're talking about a customer advisory board and their involvement with the customers, and a response based on the transactional analysis and real-time VOC. I will now bring in Alok to talk about the next part of it.
The SMAC world allows a new way to engage with customers. Not only a new way, but the sheer velocity of engagement that happens in the SMAC world is unprecedented as we compare with the past. Now, that presents a few challenges, and the challenges are that when we take a look at the traditional measures of CSAT, how relevant they are in this SMAC world, that becomes an important question that we must ask. The impact of CSAT in both the traditional world as well as in the SMAC world is not fully understood, so that is again one area that we must dwell into. And the measurement of CSAT should reach out to the right stakeholders at the right time and through the right channel. That is again an important dimension in the SMAC world. Now, in terms of the solution that can be approached for CSAT and its cousins such as NPS, sentiment scores, is that the first thing is that because SMAC allows for a continued relationship, a digital relationship with customers, that presents an opportunity to us to measure the CSAT across the customer life cycle, because at every element of life cycle we have a way to measure CSAT. The second aspect is that when we look at the analytics aspect of SMAC, analytics provide a great leverage because for example, if you take a look at forecasting will help us understand the impact of CSAT onto the future sales. We know that it takes correspondingly 6 months for us to see the results coming in, and forecasting method help you achieve that insight. Integration of internal data with external data allow for you to draw new insights from SMAC based analytics. Once we get a deeper understanding of customer relationship and identify the closer problems, we can get more into root cause analysis to improve customer matrices. And then finally, once we get all the insights, we can use non-intrusive methods to gain feedback. The other aspect that we can also derive from the CSAT in SMAC environment is that not only do we look at CSAT in isolation, but connect that with other enterprise performance levers such as profit, revenue, and retention. That gives a new way for us to segment customers and for us to target customers. And with that, now I will invite Ravi to come and present his slide.
Hi, thanks Alok. I'll be looking at the technology aspect of SMAC adoption across organizations. When we talk about technology adoption and when we talk about technology in SMAC, SMAC is a very new phenomena, and organizations have a lot of legacy technology adoption that has happened in the past. So the main key challenge is what is the right technology or the right mix of technology to be adopted for enabling SMAC for your organization. Second thing that happens is you select the right technology for adoption. You define the processes, but how do you enable organizational buy-in for this entire SMAC initiative? There is a lack of budget sometimes. There is an organizational buy-in as to why do we need to adopt SMAC. There is also a challenge around change management, and then investment requirements are changing constantly with evolving technology. So the solutions for these challenges is we need to start with an as-is versus to-be gap analysis. Based on that, we need to redraw the technology blueprint. A migration or addition strategy has to be put in place for customer self-service. So far, technology has been towards the organizations providing services to the customers. Now there has to be a change in approach towards enabling self-service for customers. There has to be deployment of analytics to fine-tune the entire customer requirement and to fine-tune the SMAC enablement requirement. Initially, it used to be about how well do you understand the customer based on what your people are seeing on the ground. With analytics, a lot of insights can be earned from customer transaction data as well as their social media presence and transactions. A lot of learning can be taken from multiple industries, from other industries that have kind of adopted SMAC before you, and that can be transferred to your own industry. First part is adoption, then we need to look at implementation. How do you implement SMAC seamlessly? So one part is sensitization. There has to be sensitization across the organization, from the front end to the back end. Integration of applications has to happen, integration of data has to be happening across the organization to enable a seamless implementation of SMAC. Driving internal adoption of SMAC oriented technology. So one part was about getting the organization mentally ready to accept SMAC, and the second part is about getting them practically ready for SMAC technology adoption. So this involves training, orientation of different people in different roles, internally and externally as well. That is front facing versus back end. Then KPIs have to be defined around SMAC. Users have to be incentivized for promotion of SMAC based transactions. And a very important part is about managing knowledge that has been captured through transactions, captured through SMAC interactions. And then finally, a skill set has to be developed for implementation of technology that is focused on SMAC. I'll now hand over to Mandar for the next slide. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi, for wonderful insights. I'll be talking about alignment of processes which are required to deliver a wonderful experience. Basically, if you want to deliver a wonderful experience, most critical thing is the process. more if you want to deliver a very consistent experience, because client nowadays in all situations are interacting with different touch point, and they expect a similar kind of feedbacks or information which is very critical for them. So it's absolutely essential for an organization to have a very strong integrated channels, or I would say processes in place. The critical thing today for any organization is to really see that the client gets the information right at the first time, because he doesn't have time much to interact with you, because he had different options been available. Another critical thing is how do you engage, because basically the client is interacting with your organization, not an individual. So it's very critical to have processes in place which will really have or pull information which is very critical for a client. Another one very critical thing is cross-selling, because when you are interacting with a client, a client is really talking about a lot of insights and a lot of information getting shared. So which can be used very effectively if you have a good process in place, which can pass on information to the next channel and they can use it very effectively. Even if you talk about a self-service, it's very critical to get into a process which really helps them to pull the information which is very critical. So more of, if you look at having a process, align processing or aligning the process with yes, I'll come back. Yeah, the critical part is how do you align process towards a customer and offer him information which is very critical for him, which can be used at right time in the right way. With this, I'll hand over to Mr. Kamlesh for the further. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about the key people skill sets which are required to effectively address concerns of customers which comes over the SMAC world. One of the key challenges faced by the organizations are low CSAT scores, which are predominantly due to inappropriate or inadequate skill set of people handling the transactions. Inadequate data, which normally organizations track transactions, but the overall effectiveness of the transactions dealt are inadequately measured. The cultural part, which plays an important role, which leads to lack of appreciations in our country. I'm actually going to talk about the solutions which will take care of the concerns highlighted. One of the important things which we can effectively address is through recruitment, where you can actually blend resources of young breed who's actually having an complete understanding of queries dealt onto social media, as well as experienced set of people to drive an effective resolution. The second important thing is providing appropriate training and providing an appropriate competency framework to ensure first time right, appropriate resolution to the customer, and enhance satisfaction from an organization standpoint. The third important thing, which is very important, is to facilitate a culture of instant gratification, instant recognition, to ensure people come out with bright ideas and ensure that the closure is completely done in a well-looped manner, which provides no opportunity to repeat these interactions. Further, we should encourage our team members to come out with ideas and create a culture of recognition, build robust process frameworks, ensure that whatever reverts onto the social media is appropriately compliant, to completely closed loop, build a knowledge management stream, and deploy right technology.
Thank you, Kamlesh. Now we will just discuss a couple of case studies. So the first case study is about a large financial group in India. They were trying to market their trading platform, which was on a digital platform. In order to get it adopted fast, what they did was they built a gaming app. They allowed prospective customers to register, and they allowed them to play as though they were doing some real trading, but with false money. So in this whole process, they not only got to engage with their prospective customers, they got to know them better, they taught them in a very fun way how trading could be done. And the thing was that they used real-time stock prices within the gaming platform. So that allowed the customers who were playing with this app to know how much they were actually making every day. So this was a very good way for them to exploit the digital platform. The next case study is a large a multinational motor company which also sells its cars in India. So this company, coming as a multinational, had a very strong feedback mechanism program, and it was mandated that every dealer of theirs gets the feedback collected from the customers, whoever comes for service or for sale. Now this feedback form used to contain questions 1 to 10, and the customers were asked to rate between 1 and 10, 10 being the highest. Now these dealers, they were sold so much on the feedback scoring that if anyone rated them below 8, the dealers would be chasing the customers, asking them the reasons, convincing them that their services were good, and so on. So this motor company realized that, look, we are doing a great job, we are getting great scoring, but there was no impact on the sales or revenues. It was just the same growth that they were seeing earlier. So they were wonderstruck. Why such a high rate of feedback and still, we are doing the same kind of business? So it was when they explored that they found out that the dealers were chasing after the customers, and the customers were actually very tired of the calls, due to which they ended up giving a rating of 10. Once they discovered this truth, they converted their manual feedback program into a digitized program where no manipulation was possible. Not only that, they also recognized that some of the dealers were having complaints with regard to the empowerment given to them at their end to make some of the improvements. So they granted more empowerment to the dealers so that they focus on their real job, and they used a digitized platform to communicate with the customers, get their feedback, and also set in motion the improvement actions that were required. The last case study is about a PSU bank. So very famous bank in India for a very long time, and very large customer base, and also known to be a very modernized bank. This bank, they found based on their analytics that some of the customers who were drifting away from them to a certain private bank were actually showing a period of non-banking. So on greater discovery, they found that these customers were actually not in the country during that period, and once they were back, they were actually defecting to the private bank. And the reason they found was these customers of this large PSU bank, when they were abroad, they still needed banking support, and they had actually tied up with the private bank for the banking support, and they were so delighted with the service that on their return back, they quickly defected to the private bank. So in order to set this right, the PSU bank immediately went on with its social networking program. They launched the platform, they started connecting with all their customers as far as possible through the social media. They started engaging with the customers, and especially those customers who were having plans to travel abroad. The bank promptly sent the relationship manager to the customers and appraised them of the services that they had on offer in various countries, thereby adding greater value to the same customer relationship. So this ends the inputs from our roundtable conference. We just have one more slide which talks about how we foresee 5 years from now. With greater technology advancement, it has become very hard to forecast anything beyond 3 years, but we are making an attempt here. We do believe that there will be a high proportion of digitized businesses and virtual offices. We believe that mobile devices, they've already found their place in people across the country. So we believe that education and literacy will get spread through these devices, and this in turn will result in a larger customer base, who in turn will adopt digital channels to do their business. We also foresee a lot of regional and social networking programs, local social networking programs. We foresee urbanization of areas leading to greater reach and economic activity. A greater share of real estate may get spent more in logistics than face-to-face engagements. We also foresee aggregation of social media presence across the supply chain, which today is lacking. We also foresee convergence of front-end devices for most of the transactions. A huge growth in aggregator solutions for consumers is also foreseen. With this, we'd like to thank you for listening to this webcast. You can drop any questions here below this, and the panelists will be able to address those online. Thank you very much and have a good day.